Hi everyone, this is Shashikala of Literal Broadcast for its fourth episode of Essential Reads, which brings in a conversation with celebrity writers. And today we have amidst us Owen Mullen, a splendid writer in the genre of crime, thriller, and suspense. Hi Mullen.
Hiya, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How about you?
Good, yes. It's a lovely day here. The weather's about to change.
Okay.
This is winter for us, summer for you, winter for us, but it hasn't felt like winter, so we're doing well.
Yeah, that's nice to hear. And today you are with us. And how about your recent novel, Family? How is it going on?
It's going great. It's going really great. It's the most successful book I've had so far. It came out just over 3 weeks ago, and it's been high in the charts from day one.
That's great indeed.
Great,
Mullen, our viewers and ourselves, we are so curious to know about you. So can you just give us a brief introduction about yourself, your journey as a writer, the hardships that you underwent and all such stuff? A personal note about yourself as a writer?
Okay. Well, my name's Owen Mullen. I'm Scottish, as you can hear from my accent. I'm speaking to you from Crete in the Mediterranean, in the Greek islands. I'm doing the edits today for the book that's the follow-on book, the next book after Family. So when I stop speaking to you, I'll go back to doing that. I've lived here. We live between here and Scotland. We go back and forth. We like the weather here. The weather here is better than Scotland. It's warmer than Scotland, quite a lot warmer. And when I came here, I just suddenly decided one day that I'd write a book. I'd won a short story writing competition when I was 10, when I was really just a child. I won that and I forgot all about it. And I didn't write anything for decades. And one day I got up and I said to my wife, I think I'll write a book. And she said, are you sure? Sounds like a lot of work. And I said, well, let's see, I don't even know if I can. But I did. And the first book I wrote was Out of the Silence. And it was set in Pakistan. I'd been to Pakistan, I've been to India, I love India, been to India 3 times. And this book was set there. So I started writing that, and that was the journey began, the writing journey began. After that, trying to get an agent to represent you because publishers won't speak to you. That was very difficult. Eventually I did. That didn't work out. Then I had another agent. Then I had another agent. But all the time, rejection. This is the story of a writer, any writer. But I kept writing. So by the time I finally got published, I had lots of books. And only recently, just recently, last year, I've moved to my current publisher, Boldwood Books, who are fantastic. And they have acquired my entire backlist, all my books. So if you look on Amazon, you probably have looked on Amazon, you'll see all my books there, all with new titles, and they're all coming out this year. They're all coming out in the next couple of months. So that's all very exciting. The latest one, as you say, is Family. That came out in January. The next one, Insider, is coming out in July. It's already written. And this week, I'm going to start writing the third one. So it's busy.
So it's been a real physical journey along with your writing career, I believe.
Yeah.
You have traveled a lot. And the next part where we are going to get into the core of this event, the real interview part. You write a good story. You really bring your characters to life and the endings are hard to guess and never what is expected. How do you maintain this element of suspense in almost all your novels?
Say again, please.
Actually, you write a good story where the element of suspense is retained till the end. How do you maintain this element of suspense in almost all the novels that you write?
Every novel's different. Every novel's a new. Every book is a new experience, and writing is like anything else. You have, no matter how much talent you have got to work to make your talent better, to finesse it, to refine it. So as I've gone along, I feel I've improved as a writer. When I'm writing a book, I try to write a book I would want to read. That's the basic thing. I want to entertain people, and with a book I would like to read. Basically, I read crime fiction, so it's crime fiction that I write. And I like the twists and the turns that you get in crime fiction, where you don't quite know, you have a surprise ending. So yeah, that's how I go. At the beginning of a book, you're never sure if it's going to work out. You don't know. You cannot know for sure if this will be a success, even in the writing of it, let alone out in the world for other people. So what I do is I have a process. I turn up every day. Every day I sit down and I write something. Sometimes I'll write for hours and hours, but mostly I write for 4 or 5, 6 hours every day. And it's amazing how much progress you can make if you keep at it like that. That's basically what I do. There's no secret. It's hard work.
So your secret is hard work, and the reader in you has brought out the writer in you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crime fiction I would read. It's actually, if I watch a movie or something, it's normally a crime fiction type movie or TV thing. So when I read books, it's always crime fiction. So when I come to write, it's not a big surprise that it's a crime fiction that attracts me. So that's where I write.
When I was surfing through net, I came to know that you were a rock musician and a songwriter too. How would you characterize your career as a musician? Did it play a role in your writing journey?
Yes, it does. There are remarkable similarities between the music business and the book business. The current book, Family, is set in London. And when I was in music, I lived in London, so I know that place very well. Also, in some of the other novels, like the Charlie Cameron novels, Games People Play, for example, which is coming out, republished in April, I think, April or May, by Boldwood Books, Games People Play. There's a band in that, and there are people who play in a club. Originally, when I wrote that book, the main guy, Charlie Cameron, played a guitar. And when I wrote my other book in New Orleans, the guy in that book, he's in a band. He plays in different bars with his friends in a band. So the musical thing is always, especially in the early days, was always an element that I brought into the writing.
That's good. And since you love music, you should be a very easygoing person, right? Music forms the core of your life.
Yeah. For a long time, music was at the center of my life. Then I went off and did other things. And then, because I'm too old to be a pop star now, I took up writing. It doesn't matter what age you are to write. Nobody cares about that. If you're a pop star, you need all these teenage girls to love you. So writing's better, I think.
Even if you had been a pop singer, it would have been a great show and entertainment for viewers. And as a writer, you must have had your own quirks and habits you keep up in your daily life. What interesting
I was thinking about this, and I don't know that I have anything particular that I do. I know that some people who write have got a ritual. You know, they always drink from the same coffee cup, or they always start at the same time, or they always have something lucky on the day. I don't do any of that. What I do is what I said to you a minute ago. I turn up. I show up for work every day, and I give it my best shot. I try as hard as I can. Some days I'm very successful, and the writing is fantastic. Some days it's not so successful, and it's hard work. But that's what I do. Not quirky, but I'm consistent.
Consistent in taking efforts to pen down your thoughts daily, maybe.
Say again?
You're consistent enough to make efforts to pen down your thoughts whenever it happens to hit your mind.
Yeah. You can't tell. You can't tell until someone else reads what you've written whether it's really working or not. You know, as a writer, you think it's working. But what if it isn't working? And my wife, Christine, she's my editor, she's my collaborator, she has tons of ideas, she's just a very talented person. I hand her what I've written today and she'll get her pen out and start. And by the time she's finished, it looks a bit different from what started, you know. But that's the process.
That's great. Generally, it is believed that writers are philosophers masked as storytellers. What is your opinion on that?
My opinion on a writer as a philosopher?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Sometimes, you know, what you need, I think it depends what you're writing. In my books, the main characters, we get to know what they're thinking. We get to see their view of the world. And sometimes they're very spiritual, sometimes they're not. I don't think I'm philosophical, but you do have to be observant. Everyone reacts differently, and of course, you've got to kind of record that, tell the reader that. What is the reaction to this? What is the reaction to that? But I think if some writers have got a big message, my message is to entertain. It's a simple message. I just want to entertain.
What more is needed from a writer other than entertainment?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is the ultimate goal of a writer? Is it selling books or leaving your own mark in literary history?
Okay. Selling books is important, but you can't think about that when you're writing. When I'm writing, I just think about writing a good book. Other people will decide whether it's good or not. I write the best book that I can write. Then it's over to the publisher and marketing people to decide what kind of mark it's going to make in the world, because it's a very, very difficult, very crowded place, millions and millions of books. So a great deal of luck is involved if you're going to, as you say, make a mark. The first person I'm trying to please is me. If I can please me, then I believe I'm on the right track. After that, selling books, making a mark, that's for other people to decide. I'm trying to be humble.
You are humble, actually. Readers, you yourself being a reader, if you're going to please you, if you're going to please the reader in you, automatically you're going to please the readers. That goes.
You can't please everyone. It's not possible. So in the first instance, you must try to please yourself by writing something that you think, oh, this is good. After that, other people get involved.
That's good. Can a story satisfy all the readers? Is it possible to have such an overwhelming appeal as a writer?
Is it possible to have
to satisfy all your readers?
No, that's not. That is just not possible. If it was possible, I would try to do that. See, everyone. I might write a book, but when someone else picks it up, it's almost like their book. They're entitled to think what they think about it, take what they can take from it. Trying to create, and everyone has different tastes. Everyone has different opinions. Everyone has different genres. Some people write like historical things or romantic things, or some people like action things or war books. So it's not possible to, what I try to do is, if I can satisfy as many people in the crime genre as I can, that's the area I'm writing in. If I can satisfy as many of them, then I'm doing all right. And that's very difficult even there.
So that's the secret behind your writing.
If there is a secret, I'm not certain it's a secret.
Okay. Creating the protagonist of a story is not an easy task. You are tasked with a difficult job of creating a believable yet unique character that could fit into your crime thrillers. Can you tell us about how you create your protagonists?
Okay. The first thing I'll say to you is the difference between fiction and real life is that fiction has to be believable. Things happen in real life that just we wouldn't believe, but in fiction it has to be believable. So when you're creating a character, it needs to be someone I think is a real person. The Glass family in the latest book are a good example, and so is Charlie Cameron. If we can speak with Charlie, there are many private detectives. He's a private detective. There are many private detectives or policemen in books, and they are mavericks. They're at odds with authority. They're always fighting with authority. They always go their own way. They're maybe alcoholic. When we put Charlie together, we decided we didn't want him to be that. We wanted him to be a guy who's doing okay. We wanted to be a guy who's pretty centered. He's pretty happy. He's got his life going on. It's all going on well. And that seems to be it's also true to say that we all have flaws, and it makes it more interesting if the lead character, the protagonist, also has some flaws. They need to, if you're going to make them real. He doesn't always get it right, for example. Sometimes he gets things wrong, as we do as people in real life. So what I'm looking for is to create someone that I can believe in. And hopefully, if I can believe in them and write it well enough, the reader will believe in them too.
So the characters are made as realistic as possible to make it believable.
Well, I think in my books, I think that's essential. If you're writing in a different genre, if you're writing science fiction or something, or if you're writing a ghost story or a horror story, perhaps the characters could be far out. But this is kind of in the present time, most of it. So the characters need to, and it's in a big city like London or a big city like Glasgow or a city like Lahore. And the characters need to be people that we might bump into, people that we might meet.
All your crime thrillers were created home away from home in the Greek islands. Did you have any particular purpose behind the location you preferred?
Do I have any particular spot that I would like to write in, or I have written in?
I didn't get you, Mullen.
You're saying to me, all my books have been written in the Greek islands. Is there any reason for choosing the locations?
Yeah. Did you have any particular purpose for choosing a specific location like this?
I did have a very specific purpose. First of all, in Glasgow. I lived and worked in Glasgow for many years. So again, I know that place very well. I lived and worked in London for the Glass family, for the new book, and for the next one. So I know that place very well. When you know somewhere very well, it's much easier to tap into the vibe there, tap into the whole place. It's much easier to write. That isn't true for all my books. Two of the books, So It Began and Out of the Silence, are written in New Orleans in America, and are written in the Punjab in Pakistan. Now, I've been to both those places, but I don't know them as well as I know Scotland, for example. But what they have as they inspire me. They inspire because they are faraway places with strange sounding names. It's different culture for me, different sights, different sounds. As a writer, if you can again tap into that, the opposite is the unfamiliarity of it. That's the strength there. Whereas with the other ones, the ones in Glasgow, the ones in London, the familiarity is the strength. Here, it's the unfamiliarity that's the strength. So wherever you write, also the location is almost like another character in the book. I think if you're doing it right. In the book I'm editing today, London is very, very, very big character. In the Charlie Cameron series and in the other books in Scotland is a very big character. And Out of the Silence, Southeast Asia as a subcontinent is a very, very big character. And if you can harness these, it enriches the writing. And I think it then enriches the reading experience.
So your location is almost a character where you need to work on it specifically.
Absolutely, absolutely, almost a character.
Okay. Charlie Cameron, your famous detective, how did you develop this character? Did you have any real-time detective in your mind while sketching him?
Did I have anyone in mind when I was writing them?
Yeah.
Yes. As you must understand, all my brave characters, all my handsome characters, well, they're all me. I'm joking. In the detective genre, I tend to draw from the things that have influenced me, like the early American detective writers like Raymond Chandler, for example. He's a big influence for anyone writing crime fiction. That kind of thing. I'm influenced also by people I would read currently, like James Lee Burke. I tend to be influenced by movies from the 40s and 50s, all those old gangster movies. Another great movie that's an influence would be, I don't know if you've seen this, it's the one with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. It's called Heat, where one of them is a policeman and one of them is a crook, one is a criminal. Every scene in that book and every scene in that movie takes the story farther and further. Every scene is important. So as a writer, to recognize that and remember it when you're writing. So these are all the things that come in. Well, there are many things. These are the things that come in to influence you.
So in spite of all the influences you have had, still Charlie Cameron is unique on his own.
And what you do is, I think the word would be distill. You take all these influences and you change them. They become different, so that you end up with a character who isn't any of those characters, but as a character all on his own. Because you don't want to write what someone else has written. It's the same in music, it's the same in architecture, it's the same in, you can be influenced, but what you create has got to have a level, an element of uniqueness. That's the hope.
And you have proved yourself with your characterization of Charlie. The writer has a crucial role in developing two of his main characters in each and every work, the protagonist and the antagonist. Which characterization do you enjoy the most? Which one involves more time? Why?
That's an easy question to answer. The one that involves most time is the protagonist, the good guy. The one that takes least time and is more enjoyable is the antagonist, the baddie, because it's much more fun writing about flawed people, about all their many cruelties or whatever it is they have going for them. Writing Family again, which is a gangster movie set in South London, there are many people who, it's a world that's dark, and so it's really good fun to write that. because they are so unpredictable, and they'll stop at nothing, and yeah. And at the same time, it's worth remembering that nobody is all bad. So if someone was just bad, they wouldn't be real. So they've got to be good to their cats or something, you know. They've got to be good to their mother or something to make them a real person. In the case of Danny Glass, he likes his music, and one of his records gets broken, and he's on the floor. He's almost in tears because the humanity is in him here. He cares about this. So we see that although he's a terrible person, he's a psychopath, there are some things he cares about. He cares about his music. So that makes him more real.
So when you were talking about the characterization of antagonist, you uttered the word enjoyable unconsciously.
Yeah.
What made you utter that word? It was enjoyable. Maybe your labor is made easy while you characterize your antagonist.
What makes him more enjoyable?
No, what I'm asking you is, you uttered the word enjoyable when you talked about the characterization of an antagonist. Mullen?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not quite hearing you, sorry. Try me again.
Actually, when you were describing your experience of characterizing both the antagonist and the protagonist, you uttered the word called enjoyable. The characterization of antagonist is an enjoyable task.
Yeah, the antagonist is much more enjoyable, absolutely.
Was it the labor of developing that character which made it enjoyable? Was it that easy for you to characterize
just because anything can happen. See, there's not a lot of drama to be found in goodness. Good people, thank God there are many of them, but they're not terrific to write about. There's not a lot of drama there. Drama's about tension. Drama's about all this kind of thing. You get that with people who aren't good people. They are capable of anything, which makes them dangerous. It also makes them interesting. So when you're writing that, and you see it appear on the page, it's actually quite exciting because you think, oh yeah, this is good, and you start to like it, you know.
Okay. Does your reading have an impact on your works? Does it help you come out with new ideas for your writing process?
I don't read as much now as I used to because I'm so busy. And I don't think it gives me ideas. I think what I get from reading is sometimes when you're writing a lot, you kind of get bogged down in your own style and your own words. It's good to go and read somebody else just to get away from you and you take some energy from that experience. It helps you. So I think that's how. It's not about ideas. I don't think I've ever got an idea from someone else's work, not directly, but I do get a lot of energy. I'm often reading someone and I think, oh, I want to write. If I'm reading someone who's really good, it inspires me to write. That's what I get from it.
That's great. And of all the genres, what made you choose crime fiction? How did you develop a kind of liking towards crime fiction?
Well, back to what I said to you a minute ago, I read crime fiction because that's what I would read. That's what I do read. So if I'm reading crime fiction, then you come to write, it's natural that you want to say, well, it's crime. Back to that, writing the book that you want to read. So that if I'm reading crime fiction, of course, then I'm going to write crime fiction. I'm not interested in historical romance. I'm not interested in chick lit. I'm not interested in these things. So to read, they're fine, but they're not for me. So I'm obviously not interested to write them. Again, it's writing what is enjoyable for you, really.
So the element of suspense is retained throughout, and the readers are curious till the end to know what happens next?
Do I know what happens next? Well, when you're writing crime fiction, there is always the unexpected thing going to happen. Always the unexpected thing. Sometimes more than one unexpected thing happen. And it's a great thrill when you realize as the writer, when you know, oh, this is what's going to happen. Because when I start the book, I always know how it's going to end. I don't always know how it's going to get there. So when you're writing this, it's not sometimes an idea comes to you unexpectedly, and that's good. And of course, if you're the reader, then you're reading a book and all of a sudden something happens that you didn't expect. And that really makes the book enjoyable.
Okay. Both your detective characters, Charlie and Delaney, are outstanding. Of these two, whom do you admire the most?
From the two?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. I think I kind of admire Delaney the most. I think he's... they're both good guys, but I'm kind of drawn to Delaney with his dog. He likes his dog and he likes his granddaughter and his daughter. Yeah, I think I probably admire Delaney. He's just a good guy.
Maybe there was a kind of a development in the character of Charlie when you started working on Delaney.
Well, there are aspects. Well, it was important to make sure they were two different characters, so that what we didn't have was a detective in New Orleans who's really the same as the detective in Glasgow. So I had to make them different. Back to what we said earlier, there's music involved in games people play, but it isn't Charlie who's the guitar player. It isn't Charlie who's a musician. There's music involved in New Orleans, but it is Vincent Delaney who's in the band with his old police colleagues. So there are differences. One of them has a granddaughter. Charlie isn't married. So there are differences. So the characters must be different. You can't just write the same character.
Okay. And how long from outset to conclusion did your recent novel Family take? And what was the stimulus or rudiment of fancy that made you bring out this?
What was the second part?
What was the fancy that made you bring out this novel Family?
Right, okay. Normally, I always say books take 3 months, but that isn't true, because once a book is actually written, the first draft, there's much more work, like the work I'm doing today, much more work. If you set aside 6 months for every book, 6 months of your life, really, that would be, and it's probably more than that, but if you consider the amount of thinking time and all that kind of stuff. But if you said 3, 4, 6 months, something depending on the book. As for Family was an idea I had for a long time, and I actually wrote the beginning of it about 7 or 8 years ago, but I got distracted onto this or onto that. It had a different title. It was called The Lucky Bastards Club then. But that got changed when it got to a publisher. I always wanted to write a crime fiction novel set in London. It just seemed like the right thing to do. So when the opportunity actually came along, having written the original part to finish the book, well, I took it. And I have to say, I'm very pleased with how it all ended up.
So you have meditated on a particular thought, and that has worked out and come out in the form of your recent novel Family. And earlier when you were talking about Christian, your wife. She takes up various roles in your profession as a writer. How do you assess the role of her in the path of your career as a writer?
Well, I think the role my wife Christine plays is kind of unique. It isn't unusual for anyone to be, helping, but that isn't really what she does. She's really in at the very beginning. She'll have many of the ideas, and we'll talk about them, and I'll change them, or I'll use them, or we'll change them. So we actually really develop the whole story and then the whole writing of the book together. When that's finished, Christine goes on and does all the marketing as well. So she's really involved in every aspect of it. Can't minimize that. And I don't think that's the usual thing. Yes, I'm the guy who sits at the desk and writes, but then she takes it away and edits it, and that can take a very long time as well. I mean, it's quite an intense process trying to write a book for anyone. Actually, I don't know how anyone does the whole thing just by themselves. And then you get other people who will be like in the family book, the Glass family books. I have two police people, one in Glasgow and one in London. And if I have a question about what the police would do in this situation or that, I go and ask them. So that's a kind of common source. What Christine does is not that. What Christine does is much more creative. I'm very fortunate. I've married a woman who's got a lot of imagination.
So she's your first critic too.
She's absolutely my first critic. And better than that, I believe what she says. If she says this part isn't working, it probably isn't working. So I have to have another look at it. I don't just say, no, I like it. I take her word for it. You have to trust your close critic.
That has made you the famous Mullen now.
Well, we're on the way.
I think you almost reached that spot. I have a personal question to ask here. Usually it is the peaceful or the chaotic atmosphere in the family that makes one a better writer. Of these, what made you a writer?
I have no idea what made me a writer. I woke up one day and said, I think I'll write a book. So there must have been something inside me that convinced me I could write a book. Before I wrote the book, I wrote a short story, quite a long short story, 20,000 words. And it was terrible. It was really, really bad. But I saw there was something in there and I kept going. And now, 15 years on almost, it's what I do. It's become who I am. But that can all change in the future again. Life is a long journey. One time we're this and the next time we're that. So who knows? At the moment, we're writers, we're writing books, and we're very happy about that.
Okay. Actually, it is perhaps the dream of every author to craft a character that is remembered by almost all his readers. We all know the traditional detectives of the fiction world who have captivated audience from time after time. How do you best define the character of your detective, Charlie Cameron?
Charlie Cameron is a good guy. He's a sensible guy. He's the sort of guy you would want as a friend. That's what I think. That's what I think about Charlie. He's a good friend and he's a good guy. Some detectives in fiction that have become very famous, like Sherlock Holmes, you wouldn't want them as a friend because Sherlock doesn't really like people. And there are other ones that they're good as detectives, but you wouldn't really want to spend a lot of time with them. Charlie is a nice guy. He's not brave, but he does brave things. He doesn't seek confrontation, but when it comes, he faces it. And his biggest characteristic is that he never gives up. He's tenacious. So that's how I would define him.
So the way you describe Charlie itself tells that you almost lived with him,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What can be the lesson that is conveyed from all of your novels? Is there a particular change you expect in people in general?
I don't know if there's anything I've learned from writing about people that I didn't already know. I think what the one characteristic that comes across is that anybody is capable of anything, anything bad and anything good as well. Ordinary people, but I don't think that ordinary people suddenly become psychopaths. I don't believe that's true. I do believe that given the right circumstances, we don't know what we would do exactly. So people are unpredictable. But I didn't learn that from writing. I knew that anyway.
Of course, people are unpredictable and that make them human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what makes them human.
Okay, what was your initial reaction to see your first publication hit the stacks of bookstores?
Well, the first time I saw a book on a shelf that with my name on it, it's really hard to believe that that's you there. You're sitting beside everyone else. It's a big thrill. And then you worry a little bit if anybody who reads it is going to like it. It's a very insecure business, you know. It's very subjective. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone is entitled to an opinion. You can only hope that they will read the same book that you've written. But of course, I remember someone sent me a picture of a bookshop in Glasgow. It was a table and there were all these books on it and Games People Play was in there. I thought, wow, you know, just to see yourself, it's great. It's great.
So it has been a very gradual and slow progress, but you have reached the place where you are right now.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. It's been going on. As I said to you earlier, many rejections, many disappointments, but I think finally we're where we should be. It also has to be said that we believe, Christine and I believe, that you can't get tomorrow's answers today. You will get them tomorrow. So although I might want this to happen or that to happen, it will happen when it happens. We need to live at the speed of the universe. And if we need to be patient, and sometimes we do, well, that's what we need. That's how we need to be, and accept that. At the moment, things are going great. Very, very pleased with everything. So the busiest year we've ever had because we've got, 11 books or something coming, 9 books or something coming out because my backlist has been reproduced, as well as Family, Insider, the next one that's out in July, and then another Charlie Cameron book coming out in October, and then another Glass book coming out in January. So really, my head's spinning with all this stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I've been finding you mad busy all these days. It's been a really hectic schedule for you. Novel after novel, you've been writing within a short span of time, and you've got ideas already stored for the upcoming novels too.
Yeah, we've got ideas. We'll be starting the third book in the Glass series this week. After that, we have other ideas. I'm looking forward to a holiday. India is one of my favorite places. I would like to go maybe to Kerala for 2 months or something, you know.
Maybe you will visit Tamil Nadu too. It's somewhere nearby.
Yeah. That'd be great.
We'll be happy to have you here, Mullen. So the formal part of the interview session is over. And now we are moving on to the rapid fire session.
Okay.
It would go on for 90 seconds.
Okay.
Questions will be asked to you. You'll have to keep your answers as short and brief as possible.
Okay.
And try to answer the maximum number of questions possible.
Okay.
So let's go to the rapid fire session.
Okay.
What do you enjoy doing the most?
Watching football.
What's the one thing you would like to change about yourself?
About my face, my nose.
What's the best compliment you have ever received?
Don't know.
What is it that you still have with you from your childhood?
Tell me again.
What is it that you still have with you from your childhood?
My smile.
What was the subject that you hated the most in school?
Maths.
What do you have as your stress buster?
Sorry?
What do you have as your stress buster?
Don't know.
If you want to undo anything that has happened in your life, what would it be?
I'd like to go to India.
What is something you have tried that you will never ever try again?
Riding a camel.
What's a common thing that you think about when you are alone?
Money.
Who from your past do you really wish you had stayed in contact with?
Many people. Many people.
If you had all the money in the world, what would be the first thing you would buy?
A plane ticket to India.
That's it. You did a great job. And now to the questioning session from the YouTube viewers.
Okay.
They have posted their questions. Here is our first question. It is from Raj. You talked about the insecurities involved in your writing career. What makes you feel secure as a writer?
I know I can do it, even though sometimes I feel frustrated or sometimes I feel it's not working. There's an interesting thing. One day I said to my wife, Christine, she said, "What's wrong?" I said, "It's this story. It's not working." She said, "Of course it's working. We're making it up."
So, Christian is your foundation. She makes you feel strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. It's only that much from the viewer side today, Mullen. It was really nice talking to you.
Thank you very much.
You told us that you enjoyed your visits to India, and it's
Thank you.
this COVID has given us a wonderful opportunity, narrowing down, making the world a small place for all of us. We from India, we are able to talk to you right now, and you have spared your valuable time to be with us with Litreal. Thank you so much, Mullen, for being a part of Litreal.
Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mullen.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So it's bye-bye from Shashikla of Litreal. Thank you.
Bye-bye.